For anyone that's been following my channel for a while, you know that my brand is built on transparency. I'm very transparent and I keep it real with you guys. I keep it real with you guys in every video. I'm not just gonna sugarcoat anything for the sake of appeasing anyone. I'm gonna speak my truth and I'm gonna try to help out as many people as possible. And that extends to NoFap as well. Pretty much all of my NoFap videos, or at least most of them, have been very, very positive in nature. They've painted NoFap in a positive light. And the reason why, honestly, is because that's the way that I see NoFap. It's done mostly good things for me. A lot of great things have come from my NoFap journey. And I like to focus more on the good than the bad. But NoFap hasn't necessarily been perfect. Even though I kind of paint the picture of it being perfect, it has not been perfect the whole way through. There are struggles that I had to face and that you probably will have to face as well. It's just a part of the process. It's part of the growing process, the healing process. Overcoming an addiction is by no means easy. It's very, very difficult. And not only that, but you'll experience effects of withdrawal. So, I just really want to touch on some of the cons that I've experienced on NoFap so that I can kind of paint a more realistic picture for you guys. Now, as I always say, we're all different, so our journeys will all be different. So, my idea of realistic on this journey may be completely different than your idea of realistic because it's based on your experiences. So just know that this is my experience. I'm speaking from the scope of my experience and, some of the research that I've done just to see some of the not so great things that happen when you're on NoFap. Now, the first thing that I want to address is prostate cancer. This is something that I feel like deters a lot of people from doing NoFap. If you don't know what I'm talking about, basically, people say that if you do not release enough, then you're putting yourself at a higher risk for prostate cancer. Now, personally, and I've done very, very minimal research on this, but just logically speaking, this makes no sense to me. And there are two reasons why. For one, your body will reabsorb all of the extra, we'll call it seed. It'll reabsorb that extra seed back into your bloodstream. This is why your testosterone levels increase after doing 7 days of retention. So, as long as your body is reabsorbing, that shouldn't be a problem. Also, for the excess that your body does not reabsorb, that's what wet dreams are for. Now, wet dreams are definitely something that I've experienced on NoFap. Not as much as I anticipated. I think I've only had I'm not going to get into that, but just know I have had that happen, and it'll probably happen to you as well. There are ways that you can prevent it from happening, such as taking cold showers and waking up earlier. That's one thing that I did early on in my journey to make sure that I didn't have wet dreams because, I was scared of having wet dreams because I thought that it would basically be a relapse, which it's not, It's not a relapse. Having a wet dream is not a relapse because all it is your body getting rid of the excess. So that's not really doing anything to you when you lose that because it wasn't doing anything for you anyways. But just be mindful of that it might happen and, you might have to throw away a few pairs of underwear. But just know that it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it can be an inconvenience. So just know that if you have a wet dream, that is not a relapse. The only time it counts as a relapse is if you consciously do it. If you decide to sit there and do it until you release, that's a relapse. Doing it in your sleep is not a relapse because you have no control over that. Like I said, you can wake up early to, counteract that. You can try to, basically deprive yourself of sleep so that you won't, do it. But I don't think that's really sustainable in the long term because, sleep is very important. You need sleep to be healthy, and it's kind of counterproductive to do that if you're doing NoFap to be healthier and, you're just losing out on sleep. There's no point in doing that. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is the flatline. The flatline is real. It is real. It's a real thing. But here's basically what it is because I feel like a lot of people are kind of in the dark as to what a flatline really truly is. All it is that when you are used to spamming that instant gratification, that dopamine rush, when you're used to getting that on a day in, day out basis, what happens is your mind becomes desensitized. Those dopamine receptors become desensitized in other situations that would normally give you that sense of dopamine. So, for example, listening to music won't be as pleasurable because you're so used to having that ultimate satisfaction, that ultimate pleasure from releasing. So, anything less than that ultimate pleasure doesn't bring you that same sense of joy and satisfaction. When you start NoFap or retention, what happens is you go through this little transitionary period. Okay, your mind is used to having that sense of dopamine every day, and you cut it off. When you cut that dopamine off, now it doesn't know where to look for it. There's going to be a few days where you're not going to be able to feel dopamine to that same extent. And this can feel a lot like depression. I refer to it as a dopamine depression because that's basically what it is. You're basically lacking dopamine in your life. Now, this shouldn't last that long. I would give it like a week. If it lasts longer than a week, then you may need to look into the possibility that you are actually depressed. And, I have other videos about that. But just know that the flatline is normal. And, when you're in that state of mind, when you feel so low on your journey, you might lose sight of why you began in the first place. And I feel like this is when a lot of people relapse. A lot of people relapse when they hit that flatline because they feel like they're doing it for no reason. And then they relapse and they feel terrible. And then they start again and then they hit another flatline and they just keep going on and on and on in that cycle. You have to wait that flatline out. Like I said, it shouldn't really last any longer than maybe a week or 2 weeks at the very, very, very most. But just be aware of that. Just know that if you're on your journey, especially in the earlier stages, and you start to feel very low, then it's probably a flat line. And just stay on your journey. Just keep going. It's part of the withdrawal process. Just like when you stop doing drugs or you stop drinking alcohol or stop smoking cigarettes. When you're overcoming an addiction, you're going to hit that low because nothing gives you that high anymore. And now you've cut off your only source of that high, of that dopamine. So just know that it's perfectly normal, just like with any addiction. And I would say that the more you were addicted, the worse your flatline will be. But like I said, just power through it. You got this. Now, the next thing that I want to mention is blue balls. Okay, this does happen. This is real. This happened to me. I'm not sure if this happens to everyone, but this definitely happened to me. I can't remember at what point in my journey, but I want to say it lasted about 4 or 5 days where I was just feeling pain down there. Now, if you don't know what blue balls is basically when you get hard and you don't release. And, when your mind is used to releasing, when you're in that state, when you're in that aroused state and you don't do it, now you just have this excess sitting there. It's kind of like when you have to pee and you hold it in. After a while, it starts to hurt. That definitely happened to me. I was very sore down there for a few days. It wasn't too bad. I was able to walk around and lift and everything like that. But it was noticeable. It was definitely there. That's for sure. Now, like I said, I'm not sure if that happens to everyone, but it definitely happened to me. So just be mindful of that. There's nothing wrong with you if that does happen. If that lasts longer than a week or two, then you might want to seek medical attention or maybe look into restarting your journey. But that's just my 2 cents. Now, another thing that I noticed on my NoFap journey is that I've become a lot more talkative. Now, this can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on how you look at it. For me, this is a very, very good thing because my primary source of income is YouTube. And what do I do on YouTube? I talk to the camera. So, being able to talk more definitely aligns with my purpose and what I do on a day-to-day basis. Now, if I did not do YouTube, this might be a problem for me because I would probably never shut up. Okay, I would never shut up. And that's something that you got to keep in mind is that if you become more talkative, you need to find a place to get these thoughts out of your head, or you're going to start to overthink. You're going to start to talk people's heads off. You need to find an outlet basically. Either start a YouTube channel, talk about your journey, or, you can start a journal, a diary, whatever you need to do. But just find an outlet or you'll drive yourself and other people crazy. I remember when I first started YouTube, I used to struggle to get my videos to 5 minutes long of me talking. Okay, 5 minutes long. These days, I'm struggling to keep my videos under 15 minutes long. Okay, sometimes when I'm making videos, I literally have to leave stuff out and I have to stop myself and say, Jordan, shut up. Like, nobody's gonna watch this. Like, stop talking. Okay, the video's over. You made your point. Because, certain things I can just keep talking about. And, like I said, that can be a good thing. It's a good thing for me because my videos are naturally longer and I make more money that way. If I'm just keeping it real with you guys, I make more money that way. But at the same time, like I said, it can be a bit of an inconvenience when it's time to edit the videos and I have 30 minutes worth of footage of me talking and I'm trying to cut it down to like 15 minutes. So sometimes I really have to check myself and say, just stop talking. Now, I think the reason why you tend to talk more is because, you have more mental clarity, you have more confidence, but also you have more energy. Now, I've spoken about this a lot, and I think the energy comes more from retention, if anything, as opposed to NoFap itself. You start to have a lot more energy when you're on this journey. Now, like I said, this can be a good thing or a bad thing. Okay, this is a very good thing if you're working towards something, if you have big goals. For me, it's YouTube. I can put all of my energy towards YouTube. Each day, I'm doing something. I'm either filming a video, editing a video, live streaming. You guys see my face in your feed every single day. And like I said, all of my videos are long. So, I have a lot of extra energy to do the things that I need to do with YouTube. But on the flip side of that, if I didn't do YouTube, if I didn't have any outlet, if I was just trying to live a regular life while doing NoFap, I would literally drive myself crazy. I would probably never get any sleep. That's something that I notice people say is that when they don't get one off, when they don't release, they have trouble sleeping at night. That's because you have a lot of extra energy. You need to do something with that energy. This is where the idea of transmutation comes in. You need to learn to transmute that energy into other outlets, preferably productive outlets that will help you achieve a bigger goal in life or help people out and get to a bag. Go to the gym, do things like that. Do things that help you grow. That's what this journey is all about. It's a self-development journey. NoFap is that foundation that you need to build on. Now, right along with having too much energy is you begin to become a little too ambitious. This can be a good thing. It seems like a good thing from the outside looking in. You want to be an ambitious person. You want to have big goals. You want the best for yourself, and you should want the best for yourself. But everyone has their limits. I like to think that I'm in probably the top 5% of work ethic for people my age. That's just keeping it real. I feel like I work very hard on my craft, and I'm very consistent at it. That's the important thing. Every single day I'm working on videos or I'm doing something. I'm interacting with my supporters. But sometimes it feels like I'm not doing enough. It feels like I'm not doing enough. I feel like I have to be doing multiple things at one time because I have all this extra energy. And in the past few weeks, I've tried to get into drop shipping and doing all these other things, and it kind of takes away from my YouTube. So I have to stop myself and say, yo, focus on your YouTube first, because this is your main hustle. This is where you're going to help the most people out and make your money. And once you establish yourself there, then you could start to venture off into these other areas like, trading or drop shipping or whatever else. Those are still going to be there when you blow up. And if they're not, then you probably shouldn't be getting into them in the first place. I feel like I've become a little too ambitious in some ways, and I expect a little too much of myself. Because like I said, we all have our limits. All of us have our limits, including me. So, I feel like mentally, I think that I can take on all of these challenges, but then when I actually try to do them all, I get overwhelmed. And not only that, but, sometimes I feel like I'm not allowed to have fun. I feel like anytime I'm doing something that's not related to YouTube, I am wasting time. Which in some cases, that is true. If I'm just scrolling on Instagram in my bed, I'm wasting time. But if I'm out with my friends, having fun, that's not wasting time. At the end of the day, if I'm not living my life, I can't make videos because then I'll have nothing to talk about. How am I going to talk about my life if I'm not even living it? If I'm only just sitting here making videos all day? So, that's probably the main battle that I've had to face these past few months, is just becoming a little too ambitious and learning to find that balance between work and play. And, integrating them both into each other, because the two are not mutually exclusive anymore. because I love my work. Anyways, I hope that this video was able to help you guys kind of get a better understanding of NoFap and some of the cons of NoFap, because like I said, it's not all just sunshine and rainbows. Like, there are some rainy days, there are some very dark, cloudy days on NoFap, and it is a hard journey. It's a very hard journey. If I didn't have this YouTube channel, and if I didn't have you guys holding me accountable, I'm not sure if I would have made it this far. So, I do appreciate the support, definitely. And, I'm going to continue to make these videos so that I can hold you guys accountable as well. And we can be great together.